The OV celebrations continue. Fans paid a small fortune to get into the arena to see his record-breaking goal number 895 in person. It was a great celebration, and now Chris Johnston's got news on how the rest of hockey fans can share in the celebration in the Hockey Hall of Fame. What's the plan there, CJ?
Well, eventually, of course, there's going to be some memorabilia on display and preserved in history, like all of the great artifacts of the game. But I think what makes this unique, Gino, is that Alex Ovechkin himself is quite a collector. Not only does he get sticks from other players throughout his goal chase, he has been keeping pucks and sticks and sweaters that he used to score all those memorable goals. You might have saw on the bench on Sunday in Long Island, he was asking immediately afterwards, hey, did anyone get the puck? And so where it stands right now is that Ovechkin and the Capitals have collected a whole bunch of stuff from that record chase and ultimately culminating with him breaking the record. And they're going to circle back at some point with the Hall of Fame and determine exactly what goes where, because Ovechkin has his own sort of rival mini Hall of Fame that he's kept. But there were meetings prior to him breaking the record. Certainly the players on board, the team is on board with getting some items there. And anyone who's visited the Hall of downtown Toronto, they had, Wayne Gretzky's net that he scored the number 802 in, and that was a pretty prominent display for years at the Hall. I would expect down the road we'll see something similar for Ovechkin.
What are you thinking? What would you project down the road for OV? Do we see him drive hard now for 900? Any chance we see him make a drive for 1,000 as well?
Well, the sky's the limit. A lot of people didn't think he'd get to this point, and so, I think it's possible. But there's still the matter of what he does with his last season remaining on his contract, and how do things change for him now that he isn't chasing anybody? I mean, each goal, of course, he'll be pushing the bar a little higher and higher from anyone who's come before him when it comes to goal scoring in the NHL. But, does he want to continue beyond this year? I don't think that's anything's been decided on at this stage, but it will be something to be considered this summer. And so, all we know for sure is of course, he's playing out this season. He's 5 goals from 900 with 5 games left. Wouldn't rule out maybe he keeps going on this hot streak and pushes for that number. But, it's unclear at this stage. I mean, does he come back for a 21st season or beyond? Because obviously we're talking about a player, without question, towards the end of his NHL career.
And I don't think we see him turn down any more empty netters if he gets the opportunity to play with the empty net. Let's look ahead to some international
hockey. He
didn't
didn't until Friday either.
Yeah, exactly. The World Hockey Championship is going to be hosted by Sweden and Denmark beginning May 9th. That's just about a month away right now. It's always curious to see who makes themselves available once they're out of the playoffs. What are you expecting, CJ?
Well, we're in this era now where best on best has been revived. Obviously, there's the Olympics on the plate coming in 2026 in Milan. And so I think it's going to be a strong team. And what Hockey Canada is doing right now is they believe they can take some time before formalizing a lot of aspects of this, because there is such a long lead period into the, before the tournament itself begins. But you do have 8 teams already in the NHL officially eliminated from playoff contention. I would expect some continuity from that Four Nations team. Guys like Travis Konechny, Travis Sanheim from the Philadelphia Flyers, wouldn't be surprising to see them find their way onto Canada's roster at this tournament. Maybe some of the young stars, Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard, seem like a good chance that you may see both of those players there. And maybe even a veteran like Ryan O'Reilly, who's had a tough year in Nashville, has shown some interest in perhaps being part of this team. But, nothing has to be sort of formalized or locked in stone just because, I think Hockey Canada does want to wait and see, the entire pool of players available. But, I would expect it to be a strong team with, a number of guys out there wanting to put their best foot forward in this new era of best on best competition having returned.
When we were just down at the GM meetings in Florida, we were talking about the fact that Kyle Dubas could be leading the management team on this. Where are they going for Team Canada in terms of a head coach?
Well, Kyle Dubas was part of the staff at last year's World Championships, at the Four Nations tournament, so there's continuity there. I think they'd like some continuity behind the bench, but of course, John Cooper, Pete DeBoer, Bruce Cassidy, some of the guys that were involved, won't be available at the World Championship. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if they do tap on the shoulder of Rick Tocchet, the Vancouver Canucks coach. Now, Vancouver's still officially in the playoff picture, and so, we have to see how that situation resolves in terms of them trying to make an unlikely pitch for a playoff spot. But if he's available, I would think, again, pulling on that continuity string, he's someone that will be of high interest to Hockey Canada. But whether it's Tocchet or someone else, I do know they feel that there's a huge pool of qualified coaching candidates out there, and they'll likely finalize that at some point once we get beyond the regular season.
That's the early talk on insider trading. We'll have the full version of insider trading coming up later on the early edition of SportsCenter.